Varga, Jewish and a foreigner, and Kapitsa, a long-time resident abroad and admirer of Great Britain. All of them demoted from their honored positions, yet survivors to the natural end of their lives. How could these apparent contradictions and inconsistencies be resolved? The search for answers led me to the idea of the paradox of Stalin's power. Introduction. The paradox of power. Stalin remains one of the most divisive and controversial figures of modern history among both scholars and the general public in today's Russia and throughout the rest of the world. By a majority in the Western world, he is condemned as a brutal dictator responsible for the enslavement and death of millions of people. But there are others who celebrate his role as the great modernizer of Russia and as the triumphal leader in the Soviet victory over fascism in the Second World War. The central argument of this book attributes this divergence of opinion to the deep contradictions between Stalin's creative and destructive impulses, which combined to produce a paradox of power. In this, he resembled two of his czarist predecessors whom he most admired, Ivan the Terrible and Peter the Great. In portraying Peter, the great pre-revolutionary Russian historian Vasily Klyuchevsky compared the Tsar to the captain of a ship of state who sought to rebuild it entirely, even as he sailed it into the storm. Moshe Levine put it more succinctly when he wrote that Stalin engaged in pulling down the old edifice of the state while simultaneously erecting a new one. The focus of this book is the period when the paradoxical character of his state-building met its greatest challenge during the years of preparing for war, fighting it, and winning the peace. The contradictions that helped shape Stalin's dualist worldview as creator and destroyer owed much to his experiences in the revolutionary underground of Georgia under Tsarist rule and his active participation in the Revolution of 1917, the Civil War and creation of the Soviet state. He built his reputation as a youthful revolutionary on his skills as an organizer, propagandist, and agitator within a disciplined party committed to a rational transformation of the world guided by Marxist theory. At the same time, his daily immersion in a secretive, conspiratorial world, his suffering in prisons, and many years in lonely exile under harsh conditions, turned a lively and convivial youth into a suspicious, devious, deceptive, and tough-minded man. These contradictory elements showed up in his paradoxical style of governance, which set irrational distrust against rational decision-making, leading to the purges of comrades also committed to building socialism. In his revolutionary years, Stalin had also developed a dual cultural identity between his native Georgia and his adopted Russia, which again gave him an appreciation, unlike his fellow Bolsheviks, of the importance of maintaining a creative tension in a multinational state under Russian political hegemony. As the following chapters show, once in power, he often sacrificed the creative part of the tension, the cultural autonomy of the non-Russian nationalities, to the security interests of the state in conducting foreign policy and imposing political and ideological uniformity in domestic policy. These were the contradictions that contributed to the paradoxical character of his rule. From his experiences as a political commissar during the Civil War and Intervention, 1918 to 21, Stalin became convinced of the close interaction of foreign and domestic policies based on his perception of the links between class enemies at home and hostile capitalist powers encircling the fledgling Soviet state. In his view, war, together with the class struggle, had become the twin engines of revolution. During the Civil War, he already began to express doubts in the abilities of foreign communists to carry out their revolutions without the assistance of the Red Army. With the establishment of the Soviet Union, he declared that world revolution depended upon the building of socialism in Russia, and not the reverse, as had been accepted dogma. Classical Marxism had